Hello, my name is Charles Bradley, and I'm with the Department of Social Services in Mecklenburg County. And I'm here today to talk about child abuse. Reporting suspected child abuse is the first important step to stopping the abuse and protecting the child from future harm. By reporting, you are helping the family to get the services and help that they need. Failure to report suspected cases of child abuse can lead to continuing abuse. Abused children carry the trauma associated with abuse throughout their lives unless treatment, assistance, and support is provided. Failure to report a suspected case of child abuse or neglect can be punished as a misdemeanor. It takes all of us within the community to identify and work with families that might be dealing with child maltreatment concerns. There can be different types of abuse that can be inflicted upon a child.
It's when an injury is inflicted upon a child, causing physical harm. That could be done through hitting a child with objects. It could be done by restraints. It could be done by ensuring that the injury is caused to the child. We follow up with medical professionals to ensure that this is a non-accidental injury. It's not a decision that a social worker would make. A medical professional would support that decision through medical examinations of the child. There could be unexplained bruising and welts or burns, unexplained fractures, bite marks, ball spots. They're very nervous upon physical contact, or they're very wary upon physical contact. Some can be withdrawn and shy. So those are all indications that something may have gone on. The child may have been physically abused, and again, is fearful that anyone would have physical contact with him or her again.
Another type of abuse is sexual abuse, which is any sexual behavior imposed on a juvenile.
Child may have delinquent behaviors, things like prostitution, running away, sexualized behaviors that really aren't age appropriate for the child, depression, bedwetting, venereal diseases, injurious behaviors, harming themselves, self-mutilation. If there's ever any notion that something inappropriate might be happening, definitely call, and we'll make that decision whether or not it's appropriate for us to investigate or not.
Emotional abuse is another type of abuse, which is described as expressing attitudes or behaviors towards a child that creates serious emotional or psychological damage.
Some of the signs and symptoms that we might see in a child that's been emotionally abused can range from physical to psychological signs. Some physical signs would be ulcers, asthma, rocking back and forth, thumb sucking. Some emotional or psychological examples would be depression, suicidal tendencies, aggressive behavior. We could also see delinquent behavior. Children start stealing, not do well in school, not do well with peer relations, causing them to withdraw and not interact in the community. The overall continuous emotional abuse in the home is what causes the damage to the child.
Another type of maltreatment that can impact the safety of children in our community is neglect.
Some of the signs of neglect that are often reported to DSS include a parent's inability to follow through with medical appointments or to follow through with medical recommendations. Another area of neglect that is often called in is inappropriate supervision, in which children are being left home alone consistently, either during the day due to their age range or overnight or on weekends without adults in the home. The child may have inappropriate hygiene, causing him or her to go to school with unkept clothing or disheveled hair, or often having their skin looking as if it hasn't been bathed or unkept for days. In addition, the child may have lice in their head, causing us to have to get involved to have the parents to take the child to the doctor to discuss appropriate health keeping for the child.
They should also look for signs of fatigue, hunger, stealing food, begging, asking for food. There may be some aggressive play behaviors, and sometimes those aggressive play behaviors stem from domestic violence in the home, chronic or consistent arguing, verbal arguing and altercations that are occurring in the home. We would also look for behaviors that would be self-destructive, involvement in gang activity, maybe sexual promiscuity, not possessing the stranger danger, not always showing appropriate boundaries and interactions, indiscriminate with how they interact with women, men, or just people in general, sharing information with strangers about their family or details with strangers about their family or themselves that may not necessarily be appropriate to share. The interesting thing about the signs and symptoms that you would see in a neglected child is that these signs and symptoms can exist in any child, and so it would be important to know what type of maltreatment or neglect the child has experienced and also the level or intensity of the maltreatment.
Any person or institution that has cause to suspect that a child is being abused or neglected is required by law to report it. If you make a report in good faith, you will receive immunity from possible civil or criminal liability that may result from your report. Everyone in the state of North Carolina over the age of 18 is a mandated reporter.
The information that we will be asking you during the time of the report would be the name, age, and address of the child, the name and address of the child's parents, guardian, or caretaker. If there are any injuries, we would ask you for the nature and the extent of the injuries. And at the time of the referral, we would also be asking you, where is that child located, so we can make sure that they are being protected or safe.
After you have discussed your concerns with an intake social worker, the agency will make a determination as to whether or not to investigate based on the information that was provided and the parameters of what North Carolina considers to be abuse or neglect. If intervention is warranted, Child Protective Services is required to initiate an investigation within 24 hours for abuse and within 72 hours for neglect. A letter will be sent to you, the reporter, if requested, indicating whether or not the reported child has been accepted for services. If a report is not accepted for investigation and you still have concerns, you may request a review of the agency's decision by contacting the agency. If the report is accepted, the investigation may include a visit to the child's home and school, along with interviews of those who are in regular contact with the child. The safety of the child is our top priority at all times. A full assessment will be made to determine future actions, including the child and the family. Please help us keep children in our community safe by reporting any suspicion of abuse or neglect by calling 704-336-CARE. Again, that's 704-336-2273.